The next step on building this guitar is to make the holes for the tunematic bridge. There are quite a few lines drawn up on here, and I'm going to explain what they are, how I work out exactly where to put it on this multi-scale fretboard, multi-scale length guitar. The first line on the outside edge is made running along the length of the neck, one on that side, one on that side, following the line of the neck. That gives you kind of double check to see that your centre line is in the correct place. 3.2. 3.1. 3.1. So my centre line is in the correct place. That's what I've used for routing all of these parts, both the neck pocket and the humbucker. This is a guitar for a child, so it's only going to have one humbucker. It's going to keep it simple. But it is a multi-scale fretboard, so it has to have a diagonal bridge. And this is how you work out where exactly to drill. The next line in here, from those outside lines on the outside of the fret, that's where the string is going to be. So I've run a line based on putting the actual nut, the actual bridge, exactly between the two outside lines of the fretboard, and then marking off where the strings actually are. So each of those dots there show where the strings will be, and then the diagonal line here is achieved by using my the figures for where all of the frets are going to be, which I got using an online scale calculator, scale length calculator. 63 centimetres from the nut to the bridge there, and from the zero, perpendicular to that zero at the top, at the baseline here, 62.25, which is actually 7.5 millimetres less than that from where the actual nut is, for reasons I won't go into right now. Suffice it to say, it's 61.5 centimetres. So that gives you a dot exactly where the string, where the strings, the outside two strings, the two E strings, intersect that line. So I draw a diagonal between them, which extends further out from there, and it's on that line that this that the feet for this, or the posts that this tunematic bridge sit in, are going to be. So I can line up the bridge with the line of the strings, so they're in exactly the right place, and then look down, and I'm just using sight line with one eye. I close one eye, and then I split the circle in two. That tells me exactly I mean, I could just use, I don't know, I could measure that. Let's have a look. Centre, centre. Again, I mean, I'd have to just judge it, because you can't really, looks like it's 73 millimetres centre, centre. Well, those lines say 74. There's probably it's probably written down in some documentation for this bridge exactly how far it is. 74 looks actually better. So those lines were put on the outside of the bridge, so I'm going to have to square those over. And then I can check this afterwards when putting the bridge back on, just to make sure I've got the right line. I think, you know, a tiny little bit of inaccuracy, the fractions of a millimetre, I don't think they're that important. The chances of being able to drill this wood to less than half a millimetre's accuracy is, or you know, perhaps a little bit better than half a millimetre. Certainly a quarter of a millimetre, I don't think it's just impossible to get the drilling perfect, because this is a very tight grained material, and there's a massive difference with this spruce between the strength of the autumn wood, which is brown, you know, a darker brown, and the summer wood, which is a lighter brown. The summer wood's very soft, the autumn wood's very hard, and as the guitar gets, as this wood gets older, that just increases. So it's one of the reasons why it's really actually very difficult to drill very well in softwood like this. So yeah, that's marked up. It's not ideal using a tunematic bridge with a fan fretboard, because when you adjust the intonation, it actually changes the position of the strings in a not the perfect way. But as I said earlier, or maybe in a previous take, the intonation is so good on a multi-scale guitar that I've hardly ever had to adjust these the line of these at all. So we're talking tiny fractions, which to all practical, in a practical sense, have no great bearing. I think, to be honest, it makes a lot more difference how you play the guitar, how you touch the strings when you're playing it. Makes more difference than these tiny little micro fractions. And although the ideal is to be deadly accurate, the reality is that the guitar can sound really beautiful, even if it's a tiny fraction inaccurate. And it could very well be the character of the guitar as well. It's one of the things. I mean, if you wanted all this stuff to be totally perfect, you might as well get a machine to make the guitar, which of course you can do, and they are brilliant machine-made guitars. So there we go. Guitar politics for you. I'm going to drill those. I think I might pilot drill them first with some small drills, and then I'll work up to the only one I've got that's the perfect size is this really long drill bit, which I've sharpened up especially for the job, but it's not ideal for cutting a neat hole in softwood, so I'll just make sure that it's only a tiny bit it's going to cut. One good thing though is that having that long shaft like that makes it much easier to work out the correct direction, because you have longer line of sight, easy to see it. bridge, not the bridge, but the tail piece will be less angled. You could have it completely straight, but you don't want it to be completely straight actually, because of the angle of the bridge here. It changes slightly the gap between the strings. The strings are slightly closer together on this than they would be on if it had been completely straight. So it works very well on the other guitar, so I'm going to do the same thing again. So those are the new marks. The new distances are there. Altogether sure how far apart they're supposed to be. Again, I'm just going to measure on another guitar. Okay. Perhaps it's 8 centimetres. I've got the actual bridge hanging up here. No, tailpiece, I mean. So, is 81.5. That should be the distance between those two marks. That's exactly what it is. So I did it by eye, and then I checked it with mathematics, and that's the way I like to do it, because I always have problems with the mathematics. And if I wasn't filming it, I probably wouldn't bother checking it with mathematics, because if it looks right, it probably is right. It's easier to do it lower down when you're drilling. It's easier to see it. It's quite good to have a bit more speed for that last bit, because I think that cuts the fibres better. They're just as deep, those ones. I'm going to be doing some painting on these bodies that I've been making the last couple of days. That's why I wanted to get this one done to this level. Now, I've got one humbucker for this guitar. I've got another one, but that's an active humbucker, EMC. No, an EMG they're called. But I don't think I'm going to bother with that because I don't want to have the extra electronics. So now that I've got these things in the correct positions, it's a nice humbucker to go there. That's from a go-down guitar. I think possibly they're made by Seymour Duncan actually. It's a kind of slightly cheaper version of their normal custom. I think it's a custom or something. And they sound very good. It's 7.92 ohms. Was it kilo ohms on that one? Alnico magnets. That fits nicely. So I need to drill for the controls. Now, so far this guitar has been made with an earlier body. This was a kind of test body, partly to do with the ergonomic, using this kind of ergonomic guitar. So this one has the same thing, but actually that's just cut it's cut out at the back. So you can play it on your right knee and yet still get the kind of more like the classical guitar position, which is much more comfortable. So this is for playing the guitar sitting down. You can actually lean back slightly and it's very well balanced. Anyway, now that those holes are done, I need something for the socket, which I think can come out of the front at that point. That's nice. Put that one there. Just do that by eye. That's a nice. I don't like the sockets coming out here because again it interferes with playing the guitar. Only 2 minutes of tape left, so. And then one volume control is all we had so far. No tone control. So I'll just put that there. What would be a good idea is to have them all in the same line, so that I can drill them both with the same drill. So if I make a straight line from the corner of that humbucker to here, there's a knot in the wood here, so I don't want it to be there. I think I'll put it here. The volume control. And then there's space to put in a tone control later if you want. To be careful with that kind of thing because you don't know. Some people like these things to be far further away from the strings because if they strum the guitar they might hit it. Maybe I could do it like that instead. Have the socket here, tone control there. Not tone control, the volume control. If you turn down the volume on one of these things without any, if you don't use a capacitor, it actually gets softer. You lose the top. You lose the high frequencies anyway. So you can use it like a tone control as well. I'm going to reach that far. Maybe not even that far either. So that's as far as it will go. actually gets us to the volume control. I might have to extend this. Which I mean a little bit of welding or something clever. There, straight in the hole, that's very good. That one too. Fits. So actually I can go all the way through that one.